Welcome back to this trip to the Galápagos Islands, a science trip of a lifetime. This is the 8th video in our Galápagos Islands series. Today we are visiting the western side of the archipelago and one of the newer islands, Isabela. We traveled for 5 hours overnight to reach the harbor of Puerto Villamil. Upon arrival, it was overcast and rainy with a very choppy sea. We donned our life jackets and cinched them tightly, trying to avoid falling over each other as we held onto the railings of the rolling and rocking deck of the Galaxy. Getting into the pangas under these conditions was a most stimulating experience. Navigating the rocks and rough seas was dangerous and challenging due to the numerous submerged rocks and low water levels. It was thrilling to see many Galápagos penguins on the rock outcroppings. Watching them diverted our attention away from the roughness of the seas. It was unexpected to see pelicans and penguins preening themselves on the rocks. Holding the camera steady while standing, or trying to stand, in an unstable panga, this cameraman will not soon forget. And if you look closely, you will see Sally Lightfoot crabs clinging to the rocks as a backdrop to the penguins enjoying the rough seas. When we finally reached the dry landing site, we were greeted by a baby marine iguana. It was resting on a bench provided for weary travelers. We decided he had squatter's rights to the bench and moved on.
Okay, we're at Isabella Island. It's actually the biggest island in the Galápagos. We have 5 big volcanoes around here, and we're in the base of one of them, which is Sierra Negra, the biggest, the second largest Caldera in all the world. Around here, we're in front of lava. We have in Galápagos, same than Hawaii, about 2 types of lava, the Pahoehoe lava and lava. On this island, we find two types of lava, but in this case, around here is only lava. This lava is both Hawaiian names. You know, the Pahoehoe means a ropey formation, And lava, it's because the early people of that in Hawaii, when they walk on top of this, say, you know, it's really hard to and difficult to walk on top of this. So it's lava. What the white things that you see around here is just lichen that because we have a high humidity around this place, and actually the ocean all the time is going to bring us a lot of humidity. So this is why we have the white color around this area. Mangroves also is present around Isabella Island, so we have a lot of life in the water. We can feel just in a few miles. It's a kind of different weather. It's raining a little bit, and actually we have very cold water around this place. So this is why the penguins are present over here. They are eating here. They have very small fish around this place. All the west part of Galapagos is really very good for the food. So we have upwelling, and it is why we have a lot of those creatures around here. So it's not too cold, so this is why we don't see the flightless cormorants. So flightless cormorants we're going to see probably since tomorrow around the other side because it's going to be colder water around the other side of Isabella. Actually, there's a area here where we are now. We are coming up every year about an inch. So this is why we're going to see in town a very old deck that they are not using anymore. They built a new one. And actually this new one is a problem during this time of day because actually we have now a low tide and it's difficult for the boats to get into that area. In the future, that one is going to be really very high and probably they have to build a new one. All this area here and the west part of Isabella is coming up about an inch every year. So that's what we have. You know, this area is still an active area, so we can have an eruption anytime on Isabella and Fernandina.
The lichens are just absolutely incredible, and of course, as we know, it's not only the humidity that's promoting the growth, it's an indicator plant, or indicator species, which tells us that the air quality is very good in this place. We're walking along the edge of this path, and all the way along we're seeing white mangroves. Some of them have been tagged with a little blue tag because they're being studied for insects and other things. But behind these, we can see the red mangroves with their big roots, prop roots that are reaching down and stabilizing them in the water. So here we have two cohabitating together.
This is a really nice iguanas, you know, the baby iguanas here. We just finished the breeding season. So all those babies iguanas, we're going to see the huge one later on. And it's amazing how they can grow in this water because they have very good food around this place. When we pass through them, we're gonna just walk very slow. You can get good pictures, you know, just slowly so that you're not going too scared. Yeah. Don't try to make fast moves or something like that, just slowly. Sometimes we have more than those, but now we have just two here, and there's another one over there. So this is very special place for them.
So where are we going now, Jaime?
Around the little bay to see some iguanas. This is the biggest iguanas in the Galapagos we have in Isabela, and also the nesting area of them with some sea lions around the other side, and of course the mangroves. And around here they have better food, so bigger waves around this place, so we have a lot of oxygen, so that's made better algae around this area. So the red color just disappeared. Española, remember the red? So there's different food around this place. It is just black, you know.
Food influences the color.
Of course, yes. And the color and the size also.
Yeah. Oh, that was a good sneeze.
Yeah.
Lava heron. There goes another one. We scared them. That bird must be having a hard time finding breakfast through this lava. It's digging away. Right behind us is what appears to be a great blue heron standing motionless. The bird life is beyond description. There's just many of every kind of bird here. The amazing thing is we're in this barren lava field, and yet off in the distance are some candelabra cactuses, and on the edge of the island, the lava island, we're seeing all the different mangroves. What a contrast.
We have there's a white coral around here is because the El Nino affect a lot to the Galapagos when it's coming. So it's warm water. It's going to kill those white corals. So with the waves just come over here to this place. We have a lot of places in Galapagos with this kind of area, you know, with dead white corals, which is really very bad for the wildlife during that time, you know, in the ocean. You know, the locals, they use this kind of coral, and actually here in the early days of the Galapagos, they just start a fire around here, and then they produce cement with this because it's calcium, you know. So they use this, and there is the one old church here that's made by from this, based on this, you know.
No, we would back in Georgia we call that tabby.
Okay.
When you take the corals and you make cement, we call it tabby. You mix it with sand and heat it.
Yeah.
This big chunk of coral washed up during El Nino, and this is the remains of what's called a Christmas tree worm. This is the outer shell, and it lives inside, of course, and has its tentacles coming out, which wave to collect food. Once again, washed in with El Nino.
Actually, that's mean that this area is older than the other side. So this was here, up here for a longer time here, right in the surface, than the other area here. So there's more plants around this place. This plant is called Cacavus miersi. It's endemic of the Galapagos.
That is a beautiful specimen posing for us on the rocks over there. It's a yellow-crowned night heron, standing tall and magnificent. And behind it are a bunch of sea lions. This is another protected beach for sea lions. And there are males and females and some babies. The coral here is all a result of El Nino action. It's not natural to this island. There's some pretty big chunks as well as some small and very beautiful little pieces. It's very interesting to watch this bird negotiate its way over the lava, looking for food and walking between the Sally Lightfoots and some pups. It's quite unafraid of us, just trotting right by. Not more than a couple yards away.
Right now we're on Isla Tintoreras off of the Isabela, the mainland of where we're at right now in the Galapagos. Right here we have a large aggregation of marine iguanas that we've been studying for a long time now, and really exciting to see them. They're a little bit different from the ones we saw on Espanola and Floriana. Those had a little bit of a red color to them around their stomach and along their back, but these don't have that color. They're only black, dark gray. The males have a little bit of green, and that all has to do with what kind of algae they're eating that's been deposited by the waves on the coast for them to eat. We also can see here the impressive spines on the back of the male marine iguanas. They're a bit bigger than the female, and they're only present on the marine iguana. The land iguana does not have those spines along the back just like that. But I think the most unique thing is probably the white stuff on their forehead.
Yes, as you can see on this big guy to my left right here, you can see this white, almost barnacle-looking material on its head. And now what that is the salt or the brine that it shoots out of its nostrils when it's trying to get rid of excess salt. Since its diet consists of red and green algae, it takes in a bunch of salt. And so to get rid of that, so it doesn't damage its body, it'll shoot it out of its nostrils and then it'll land back on its head. So that's why a lot of these iguanas have that white barnacle-looking material on their head.
It's in Isabela. It's where we are now. Actually, those flamingos, we have the largest population in Galapagos on this island. Because it's different algae that grow around here. We have different pH and, of course, salinity. That is more inside the land. But actually, they find food around this place. So this is why they are here. It's not the same kind of food that we have in the other island, but actually they find here. But they don't stay here all the time. But you can see some juveniles. There is one over there with this not so pink, so the one is a baby. It is brackish water. Yeah, brackish water. Yeah, it's not so salty like the other day. Okay, well, the tortoises that we have in this corral here. They come from one of the volcanoes that we have here. It's a Sierra Negra. But actually in Sierra Negra is a kind of big volcano, and we have different populations around the same one, so like a different subspecies. But this is why those tortoises that we have in this special area, it's from one hill that we call Paloma Hill, which is Dove Hill, and it's they reproducing over here. Around the other side where we have the babies, they are about 5 years old, and actually some of them about 6 years old. And just about 6 months ago, we had a lot of them, but actually sometimes it's kind of difficult to send them to the same place that they come from because it's sometimes like 2 or 3 days walking. So they use a helicopter to just release about 300 tortoises about 6 months ago in one of the places here in Isabela. So it is really better than Santa Cruz around here. The tortoises are in a bigger area. And actually we have a giant tortoises from Cerro Azul. Cerro Azul is another volcano that we have to the west. Tonight we're going to travel along the base of that volcano. But in Cerro Azul, it's a very active volcano, so we have some eruptions, and also we have a fire around that place. Some early people here in Galápagos, they started a fire, and this was in '97. And it was a big fire, and a lot of tortoises died. So with the helicopters, they moved some of the tortoises from that place to here, to the center. And this is how it started, this center, in order to protect the tortoises from Cerro Azul. But then they thought about, okay, let's reproduce them. Let's reproduce the tortoises from here, from Sierra Negra. So they did, which is a really very good project, very good program. Yeah. And they still working in this, you know. So now the tortoises are saved. They are actually around here. They still reproducing, so they keep the next generations, you know, and which is really very good. So they release a lot of them, you know, the last few years, yeah.
That's excellent.
And it's still working here, still reproducing in this place.
Right now, we're getting the unique opportunity to watch two Galapagos giant tortoises mating. As you can clearly see here, the male is significantly larger than the female, and God has made the Galapagos giant tortoise so that the male has a very curved and domed plastron underneath, so that it can mount the female like it is right here. A few seconds ago we were hearing the noise, the guttural grunt that is unique to the Galapagos giant tortoise and can be heard very frequently if you are around giant tortoises that are mating. After the mating process, the female is going to go off and she's going to find a place to lay her eggs. It's generally going to be a sandy area where she can dig a nest. She'll dig it out with her hind legs, and it will be roughly 30 centimeters deep. And in it, she'll lay roughly 16 tennis ball-sized eggs, which will incubate for about 120, 140 days until those young emerge. When the young do finally hatch, it can take them up to a month to dig out of their hole because the mother will have covered it up and urinated on it in order to keep them safe. Once the eggs hatch, the young will emerge. Their main predator will be the Galapagos hawk. They're easy prey to those, as well as many feral species that could prey upon the eggs before they even get a chance to hatch. The young are going to be very, very small. They're going to be maybe 3 inches long and probably only a few ounces, which is significant compared to the 600 pounds that the males can be when they're roughly 40 years old. Here at the Galapagos National Park, they take many precautions to help aid the growth and birth of many giant tortoises. They will collect eggs from both the wild and within their own center, but when they do so, they have to be very careful and mark the eggs as to which side is up and which side is down, and carry them to their center, to their own incubators, and put them in the same orientation as they were when they were found in the nest, because that way it will keep the embryo just as it was when the egg was laid. If they don't do this, it's very possible that the embryo could die, and that would create a failed nest, and that would obviously be detrimental to the process of growing the population of Galapagos giant tortoises in the Galapagos.
walking up to Sierra Negra volcano, one of the most active volcanoes in Galápagos. It's a shield volcano and covered by vegetation around here on the pass with a lot of giant tortoises. So we're walking to the top of the caldera. This is the second largest caldera in all the world. And we're moving up now, and in about 45 minutes we're right to the top. It's kind of a slippery path, but beautiful to see some finches, tree finches, ground finches around here.
This is your fortuitous leader as she gasps for air, assuring you there have been no natives left behind. I personally checked it out. Everyone is here, undercounted for, as I fall dead on the floor.
Okay, we are right on the top of the caldera. This is the second largest caldera in all the world. First in Ngorongoro, and then we have this one. It's about 9.5 kilometers to the other side. Actually, we have drop off over here. It's about 300 feet lower. We have the caldera. But actually we have everything like clouds around up here. This is one of the 5 volcanoes, very active volcanoes. The last eruption around here was about 3 years ago, around the other side of the caldera. So we have some fumaroles also around the other side. So we are waiting for a big eruption here anytime on this caldera. That's why we're here waiting probably now. So the vegetation that you see here, those ferns around this place, is the original vegetation. The altitude is not like a Cotopaxi. But anyway, we have the highest point here in Galápagos in Isabela, 1,707 meters, which is around the Wolf volcano. It's about 5,000 feet. So, and that's the place where we have also giant tortoises, but we cannot see them because the population is very small. But as you can see, there's brand new lava, and also there's cracks over there. It's because this is coming up and also coming down. When we have an eruption around here, it's very unstable, and we are just here waiting and actually just standing here in this very active volcano. You know. So that's just.
So what you're saying is we're crazy, standing here on this active volcano.
You're a scientist, so this is what you love. This
scientists are crazy
and love the adventure.
All right, so what we were looking at here is a magnificent view of a shield volcano. And something interesting about the shield volcanoes is their lava flow, opposed to the very thick and high viscous flow of the cinder cones, is it's very runny. And shield volcanoes are probably more popular on the Galápagos Islands, and they're responsible for the islands themselves growing in circumference each year, because when their lava hits the water, it hardens into basalt and adds on to the circumference of the volcano.
Okay, the one thing I always get confused about volcanoes, I know viscosity is how quickly it turns solid and how runny the material is, but if it has a high viscosity, does that mean it's runnier or more solid?
If something has a high viscosity, it means that it is very sticky liquid. So in other words, it is not going to flow as quickly as a non-viscous material, such as syrup would be a very high viscosity liquid, whereas vinegar or water would be a very, very low viscosity.
Okay, thank you. I always get those two confused. Another interesting fact about the Galápagos Islands and the volcanoes there is they run along the same mid-ocean ridge, the Seymour Ridge, as it's called, that runs through California, creating all the famous quakes throughout California. It is the same ridge running from just south of here at the Easter Islands up to California.
Look over there, guys. You can see the channel where the lava's come out. And then if you look across now as these clouds are blowing out, as we prayed they would, the yellow over there is actually sulfur gas coming out. Isn't that incredible?
It really is.
This is very deep. I understand that in the center, the lava is beginning to, within the dome, the center of the dome, the lava is beginning to rise up again. And it did that before the last eruption 3 years ago. So I think they're anticipating there could be one, probably not today, but in the near future. What I find very fascinating is look at the vegetation here. It's all these little ferns, which if they left to grow, become taller. And we saw some tree ferns on the way up as we were climbing. And apparently that's the natural vegetation that's been here.
And then back to the eruption that they are anticipating for this particular shield volcano. Luckily for the people on this island, shield volcanoes tend to be less violent eruptions than, say, a cinder cone or a composite volcano, where their eruptions are very violent and can be felt from miles away. The shield volcano's only problem is that, seeing as though its lava is so low in viscosity, that it can flow a lot farther than the lava of a composite or cinder cone volcano. So,
well, did you notice the lava fields as we were coming up here? There, on either side of the road, there was just this lava. So you certainly are correct that it flows for a great distance.
The good thing is the town is around the south, and if you're feeling
Yes,
the
it's
wind
going
is going into the northwest. So this is what is good, about that, about the ashes, and also the lava. If the lava come out by this area here, we have a very flat area before the town. So actually, it's not going to arrive to the town, the lava field. And as you see, yeah. So there's a kind of eruptions that actually, that let's go a lava river and then just go down there like a lava, like Pahoehoe lava,
Yes.
arrive in that place. And
Standing there on the rim of the caldera, filled with black lava, it looked like we were standing over a black lake. What a magnificent sight. Once back on board the Galaxy, during our daily debriefing meeting after dinner, everyone reflected on how we felt. Our minds were exhilarated, but our bodies were tired. What a day.